Hi, I'm Julaine Appling, President of Wisconsin Family Action, and it's time for another Ask Julaine. We do these periodically to try to answer questions that we get on a somewhat regular basis from people all across the state. Recently, because of our work in working with the Religious Freedom Amendment that's being proposed here in our state legislature, we've been receiving questions and comments from people all across the state wondering why we are doing this Religious Freedom Amendment. And one person wrote on our social media, I believe it was on Facebook, "I wish someone would cite a time when religious freedoms have been encroached upon. That seems important to back the need for whatever it is they are trying to do. When and in what way have the freedoms of the religious, aka Christians, been threatened to the point of changing the wording of the state constitution?" First, it's important to note we're not changing the wording of the Constitution, we're adding language to it. We're adding the very best legal language we have to ensure that the courts don't get to do whatever they want to do when religious freedom is bumping up against some other right or some other freedom. Secondly, it's important to know there are numerous examples right here in Wisconsin where people of faith, Christians and I'm sure other religions too, have had their religious freedoms encroached upon. A young man up in Shawano in January of 2012 was told to write a piece for his school newspaper. It was a pro-con piece. He took the against position on gay adoption, used Bible references to support his position, and when that piece was published in the school newspaper, people who were living in homosexual relationships with children became very angry, accused this young man of bullying their children, of being homophobic and bigoted and all of those other things, and essentially his religious freedoms were absolutely encroached upon. To this day, he is still in court over this matter. If we had this Religious Freedom Amendment in place, it would be very clear to our courts here in this state where they needed to land, because the language that's being proposed makes that very clear about the state's role in all of this. Someone also asked whether or not we have enough coverage through the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Quite frankly, any constitution today doesn't stand on its own merits. It's subject to the interpretation of courts, to case law, and precedents. And our courts in our country, over recent years especially, have been very bad about taking what our founders called the first freedom and making sure it is subservient to other freedoms, almost automatically subservient. The language we're proposing would shore it up here in our state to make sure that people of faith, whether they're Christians or not, have every opportunity in the courts to make their case for why religious freedom should be recognized and held up as very important. That's why we're working on the Religious Freedom Amendment.